Give it to me, Elara.
No.
Elara Veyne knew her cousin had not run away. Everyone else in Thornmere seemed willing to believe it. The guards believed it. The Alpha Council believed it. Even the official report from Blackspire claimed 23 Omegas had voluntarily abandoned their territories during the past 18 months. Elara knew better. Her cousin Lisa was the 24th. 3 nights after Lisa disappeared, a package arrived at Elara's door. Inside was a small leather ledger. Every page contained names, dates, supply shipments, prison transfers that officially did not exist. Elara read until sunrise. Then she found something that made her hands go cold. Each transfer carried authorization connected to Blackspire Citadel, and every chain of command ended beneath the royal seal. King Kael Dravenhart, the Black King. Across Vareth, people spoke his name carefully. Kael had ruled for 9 years. He was powerful, controlled, feared, and increasingly distant from the people beneath his crown. Elara closed the ledger. If the evidence was real, the King of Vareth was involved in making Omegas disappear. If it was false, someone powerful enough to forge royal authority wanted the kingdom to believe he was. Either possibility terrified her. The following morning, Elara entered Thornmere's council hall carrying the ledger. The Alpha ordered her to leave. She refused. Elara placed the evidence on the council table and demanded that Blackspire answer for the missing Omegas. Silence filled the chamber. Then someone laughed nervously. An Omega accusing the crown was not bravery in Vareth. It was usually suicide. By sunset, everyone in Thornmere had heard what Elara had done. By midnight, royal riders arrived. 6 members of the King's Night Guard stopped outside her home. Their commander handed Elara a sealed message. She expected an arrest order. Instead, she found a royal summons. King Kael wanted her brought to Blackspire immediately. 2 days later, Elara stood beneath the enormous gates of the capital. Black stone towers disappeared into winter clouds above her. Soldiers watched from the walls. The royal wolf banner moved in the wind. Elara tightened her grip around Lisa's ledger. She had imagined this moment during the entire journey. She had imagined chains, threats, perhaps even execution. She had not imagined being escorted directly into the royal audience chamber. At the far end of the vast hall stood a tall man dressed in black. Shoulder-length dark hair framed an angular face. Silver touched his temples. His amber gold eyes found Elara the moment she entered. The room seemed to become smaller around him. King Kael Dravenhart descended the steps from his throne. He stopped directly in front of the Omega who had publicly accused him of making her people disappear. Then he held out his hand. "Give me the ledger." Elara did not move. Kael's eyes narrowed. Not from anger. From interest. Elara held the ledger against her chest. "First, tell me where my cousin is." For the first time that day, the Black King had no answer. Kael lowered his hand. The guards surrounding Elara became completely still. No Omega spoke to the Alpha King that way. Elara knew it. Kael knew it. Yet he did not punish her. Instead, he looked toward the ledger pressed against her chest. "I do not know where your cousin is." Elara studied his face. That answer was either honest or very well practiced. 24 Omegas are missing. I know. Your government says they left voluntarily. I know what my government says. Then you also know someone is lying. A dangerous silence followed. Kael turned toward the guards. "Leave us." Several hesitated. Now, the command carried enough alpha authority to empty the chamber within seconds. When the doors closed, Kael walked toward a long table covered with territorial maps. He placed both hands against its edge. 3 months ago, I ordered an internal investigation. Elara stared at him. And 24 people still disappeared. Kael's jaw tightened. "That is why you were standing here." Elara finally approached the table. She opened Lisa's ledger. Kael examined each page. The royal authorization marks were genuine. So were the Night Guard transfer codes. But Kael stopped at one particular seal. "This order never crossed my desk. It carries your authority. It carries a copy of my authority." Elara watched him carefully. "Convenient." Kael raised his eyes. "You came here believing I am guilty. I came here wanting my cousin back. Then prove I took her." The challenge surprised her. Kael crossed the chamber and opened a locked cabinet. He removed a silver insignia and placed it on the table. "For 7 days. This gives you access to royal records connected to the disappearances." Elara did not touch it. You expect me to investigate the king while living inside his palace. I expect you to investigate everyone, including me. And if I prove you are responsible, Kael stepped closer. Then you will present the evidence before the 7 alpha houses. Elara searched his expression for fear. She found none. What stops you from destroying whatever I discover? Nothing. That was not reassuring. Kael continued. Which means you will have to decide whether my actions match the monster you already believe me to be. Elara took the silver insignia. 7 days. 7 days. And I choose which records I see. Yes. Which witnesses I question. Yes. No one speaks to them before I do. Kael paused, then nodded. Agreed. Elara closed the ledger. For the first time since Lisa vanished, she had a path forward. But as she turned to leave, Kael spoke again. There is one thing you should know. Elara looked back. Kael's expression had changed. 23 Omegas were missing when your cousin disappeared. This morning, there were 24. Elara felt cold move through her. Kael looked toward the sealed palace doors. An hour before you arrived, another Omega vanished. From inside Blackspire. The missing Omega was named Mara. She worked in the royal kitchens. According to palace records, Mara finished her evening duties at midnight. She never reached her room. Elara began there. The bed had not been touched. Her winter cloak still hung beside the door. Her boots were beneath the chair. A woman planning to run would not leave barefoot into the snow. Elara questioned the kitchen workers next. Most were afraid to speak. Then an elderly servant finally told her something useful. Mara had been summoned shortly before midnight. By whom? The servant shook her head. She only said the order came from the night guard. Elara found Kael in the royal archive. He was already examining the same duty records. One of your guards summoned her. Kael looked up. No night guard order was issued last night. Someone used your transfer codes before, and now they are using your soldiers. Kael closed the record. Or pretending to. Elara placed Mara's schedule beside him. She disappeared between the kitchens and the eastern servants' corridor. Kael studied the route. There is nothing there except the old palace wing. Then that is where we start. No. Elara stared at him. You gave me unrestricted access. To records. Not to a section of Blackspire sealed after a fire killed 17 people. How convenient. Kael's amber eyes hardened. Do you challenge every sentence I speak? Only the suspicious ones. For a moment, Elara expected anger. Instead, Kael almost smiled. Almost. Then he removed a key from beneath his coat. They entered the eastern corridor together. Dust covered the stone floor. No lamps burned there. Kael carried a lantern while Elara searched the walls and doors. Halfway down the passage, she stopped. There were footprints in the dust. Fresh ones. They followed them to a locked iron door. Kael examined the lock. Someone had scratched away the royal seal. Elara noticed something beneath it. A thread. Gray wool. She recognized the fabric from the uniforms worn by palace servants. Mara had been here. Kael unlocked the door. A narrow staircase descended into darkness. The smell reached them first. Wolfsbane. Not enough to kill. Enough to weaken a werewolf and prevent shifting. Kael's expression changed. Stay behind me. I thought I was investigating you. You are. Then stop giving me orders. This one is not from your king. Kael looked into the darkness below. It is from the man standing between you and whoever took Mara. Before Elara could answer, a sound echoed from beneath them. A woman screamed. Elara moved first. Kael followed. They descended the stairs together. At the bottom, the lantern revealed an empty stone chamber. A chair stood in the center. Rope lay on the floor. Someone had been held there only moments earlier. Then the door slammed shut above them. Elara turned. Kael looked toward the darkness. They had not discovered an abandoned prison. Someone had led them into it. Kael reached the door first. Locked. Elara lifted the lantern. There has to be another way out. There is. Kael pointed toward a narrow opening behind the empty chair. A passage disappeared into darkness. How do you know that? I grew up in this palace. Elara looked at him. Yet you did not know there was a prison beneath it. Kael said nothing. That silence told her enough. They entered the passage. The air became colder with every step. Wolfsbane lingered in the stone. Then Elara saw scratches along the wall. Names. Dozens of them. Some had dates beside them. Elara raised the lantern higher. Her breath stopped. She recognized 3 names from Lisa's ledger. Kael moved closer. These people were here. Not just here. Elara touched one of the carvings. They were prisoners. A sound echoed ahead. Footsteps. Kael extinguished the lantern. Darkness swallowed them. He pulled Elara into a narrow space between two stone pillars as someone approached. A masked guard passed within several feet of them. The man carried a leather case. Kael waited until he disappeared. Then they followed. The passage opened into a hidden chamber beneath the silent wing. Shelves covered every wall. Not weapons. Records. Hundreds of files. Elara opened the nearest one. Inside were family histories, birth records, rank classifications, bloodlines. Every file belonged to an Omega. Kael opened another. Why would anyone collect this? Elara turned several pages. They are looking for something. She found symbols beside certain family names. Silver crescents. The same mark appeared repeatedly. Kael became still. I know that symbol. From where? The oldest royal records. The Moon Wardens used it. Elara had heard the name only in childhood stories. The Moon Wardens disappeared generations ago. Someone does not believe that. Kael searched another shelf. Then his expression hardened. He handed Elara a document. At the bottom was his royal authorization. Elara looked at him. Kael removed a sealed order from inside his coat and placed it beside the document. The signatures looked identical. The seals did not. One tiny line inside the forged wolf emblem curved in the wrong direction. Elara finally saw it. Someone had copied the king's authority almost perfectly. A noise came from behind them. Kael turned. The shelves on the far wall were burning. Someone had entered without either of them hearing. Flames climbed the records. Elara rushed toward them. Kael caught her arm. We cannot save all of it. Then save what matters. They began pulling files from the shelves. Elara grabbed one marked with a silver crescent. A familiar name appeared on the first page. Elara Veyne. Below it were two words. Candidate confirmed. Elara stared at the page. Her cousin had not disappeared because she was an Omega. Someone had chosen her because of her blood. By morning, half the records beneath the silent wing had burned. But the file belonging to Lisa survived. Elara read it until she knew every line. Someone had traced her cousin back through 6 generations of family history. The same had been done to every missing Omega. Kael ordered Rowan Thorn to seal the silent wing. No arrests. No public announcement. Not yet. Elara confronted him outside the archive. Another secret investigation. Kael stopped. Someone inside my government knows every move I make. If I announce what we found, they disappear before sunset. Or more Omegas disappear first. His expression tightened. I know. Elara expected him to walk away. Instead, Kael spent the morning visiting the palace servants. Not their supervisors. The servants themselves. A young Omega kitchen worker admitted that guards had been entering sleeping quarters without written orders. Kael listened. Then he removed the captain responsible before noon. Later, Elara watched him stop an alpha official from threatening an elderly beta clerk. Kael never raised his voice. He did not need to. The official apologized immediately. But Kael did something Elara had not expected. He asked the clerk whether it had happened before. The answer was yes. Kael went silent. Elara recognized that silence now. It meant he was discovering another thing his palace had hidden from him. That evening, a message arrived from Thornmere. Mira had searched the local archives. She found transfer orders carrying the same false royal authorization. Some were nearly a year old. Elara found Kael alone on a balcony overlooking Blackspire. You were telling the truth. Kael turned toward her. That sounds painful for you to admit. Do not enjoy it. A faint smile touched his face, then vanished. Elara handed him the report from Mira. This started long before Lisa disappeared. Kael read it. I should have seen it. You cannot see everything. A king is supposed to see enough. For the first time, Elara heard something beneath his control. Guilt. She had expected arrogance. Cruelty. Perhaps indifference. Instead, she found a man furious that people had suffered inside a system carrying his name. That did not make him innocent of every failure. But it made him harder to hate. Kael looked toward the city below. Why did your cousin send the ledger to you? Because she knew I would not stop asking questions. Kael looked at Elara. She knew you well. The softness in his voice caught her unprepared. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Rowan entered the balcony. He carried another recovered file. His face was grim. We found what connects the missing Omegas. Elara opened the document. Beside every name was the same silver crescent. And beneath it was one word. Moon Warden. The word Moon Warden changed everything. Kael ordered the oldest royal records brought from the sealed archive beneath Blackspire. By midnight, Elaras sat across from him surrounded by histories no living Omega was supposed to matter enough to enter. The Moon Wardens had once stood outside the authority of the Crown. They could investigate kings, challenge violations of the Crown Covenant, and when necessary, awaken an ancient trial capable of judging royal legitimacy. Then, generations ago, they vanished. Kael placed one record beside Lisa's file. Someone has been searching for their descendants. Elara studied the missing names. Not descendants. A descendant. Kael looked at her. Elara pointed to the symbols beside each family line. They tested them and moved on. Lisa was marked as a confirmed candidate, which means they believed her blood was different. Elara felt sick. Her cousin had been imprisoned because of an ancestor neither of them knew existed. A faint sound came from behind the archive wall. Stone moving against stone. Kael rose immediately. A narrow silver line had appeared between two shelves. Elara approached it. The crescent symbols carved into the wall were glowing. Kael reached for her arm. Wait, but Elara was already close enough. Heat spread beneath her left collarbone. She gasped. Silver light escaped beneath the neckline of her dress. Kael froze. Elara pulled the fabric aside just enough to reveal the small crescent-shaped birthmark she had carried since birth. It was glowing. The hidden wall opened. Neither of them moved. Beyond it waited a circular chamber untouched by dust. Silver carvings covered the floor. At its center stood a stone pedestal. Elara stepped inside. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, every symbol illuminated. Kael remained at the entrance. The chamber was rejecting him. Elara approached the pedestal alone. When she placed her hand against the stone, light spread beneath her palm. A single sentence appeared across the ancient surface. Blood remembers its duty. Elara stared at the words. Then she understood. Lisa had not been the bloodline Lucian's network was searching for. She had only led them close to it. Kael looked at Elara from beyond the threshold. They were looking for you. Before Elara could answer, applause echoed from the archive entrance. Slow. Deliberate. Kael turned. Lucian Dravenhart stood between the shelves in his deep burgundy coat. His platinum blonde hair caught the silver light. A calm smile rested on his face. At last, Kael's hand moved toward his weapon. Lucian did not flinch. You should thank me, brother. Without my investigation, neither of you would ever have discovered what she is. Elara felt the truth settle like ice inside her chest. Lucian had not just known about the missing Omegas. He had been waiting for the Moon Warden bloodline to reveal itself. And Elara had just done exactly that. Kael stepped between Lucian and Elara. Where is Lisa Veyne? Lucian smiled, still asking the wrong question. Kael's golden eyes hardened. Then give me the right one. Lucian looked past him toward Elara. Ask why an Omega from Thornmere received evidence carrying forged royal authority. Elara felt her stomach tighten. The ledger. Lucian nodded. Your cousin was never supposed to expose me. She was supposed to lead you here. Elara stared at him. You knew she would send it to me. I knew she trusted you. And I knew you would accuse my brother publicly. Kael moved closer. You manufactured the evidence against me. I gave people evidence they were already prepared to believe. Lucian looked around the royal archive. The Black King. Distant. Severe. Too powerful to question. All I needed was someone brave enough to make the accusation. Elara understood. She had not broken into Lucian's conspiracy. He had opened the door for her. Why? Because I needed the Moon Warden. Lucian's gaze settled on the glowing crescent beneath her collarbone. I searched 24 bloodlines. Your cousin brought me close. You finished the search yourself. Kael's hand closed around Lucian's coat. Where is she? Lucian finally lost his smile. Beneath the silent wing. Kael released him and turned toward Rowan, who had entered with the night guard. Take him. But Rowan did not move. Neither did two guards behind him. Instead, they drew their swords. Rowan's face changed. Kael, get Elara out. The archive erupted into violence. Kael shifted partially as he struck the first traitorous guard aside. Rowan intercepted the second. Elara ran toward the hidden passage. Lucian did not follow. He only watched her leave. That frightened her more. Minutes later, Elara reached the underground cells. She found Mara first. Alive. Weak. Then another prisoner. And another. At the end of the corridor, a woman lifted her head from behind iron bars. Elara stopped breathing. Lisa. Her cousin looked thinner. Exhausted. But alive. Elara dropped beside the cell. Lisa reached through the bars and caught her hand. I knew you would come. Elara fought back tears. I am getting you out. Lysa shook her head. Listen first. She explained what Lucian had been building. The disappearances, the forged orders, the compromised guards, the coming assembly of the 7 Alpha houses. Lucian did not intend to murder Kael. He intended to remove him legally. And once the houses believed the king had imprisoned Omegas, Lucian would offer himself as the only ruler capable of restoring order. Lysa tightened her grip. But he needs one more thing. What? You. Elara became still. Lysa looked at the glowing crescent beneath her collarbone. A moon warden can call the trial of recognition. If Lucian controls you, he controls the judgment. Footsteps echoed behind Elara. She turned. Kael stood at the end of the corridor. Blood marked his coat. His eyes found Lysa. Then Elara. And Elara finally understood the choice waiting for her. She had come to Blackspire to prove whether Kael was guilty. Now she possessed the power to decide whether the entire kingdom would judge him. By sunrise, the missing Omegas were free. Lucian was gone. He had escaped Blackspire before Rowan could seal the northern gate. And he had taken enough forged evidence to begin the final part of his plan. Messengers were already riding toward the 7 Alpha houses. By nightfall, every Alpha in Vareth would receive proof that King Kael had authorized the disappearances. Elara stood inside the Moon Warden chamber while Kael waited beyond the silver threshold. Ancient records surrounded her. One truth mattered more than the others. A living Moon Warden could initiate the trial of recognition. The trial could expose violations of the Crown Covenant. It could confirm a king, or remove one. Elara stepped from the chamber. Kael was alone. You knew what this place could do. Not until tonight. Now you know. Yes. Elara studied him. If I call the trial, it will judge you too. I know. It may expose things that have nothing to do with Lucian. I know. You could lose your throne. Kael held her gaze. Then I lose it. Elara almost became angry. You say that as if it means nothing. It means everything. Kael stepped closer. That is why the choice cannot belong to me. The words silenced her. He could order the chamber sealed. He could imprison her. He could use his alpha authority and make resistance almost impossible. Instead, he removed the royal seal from his coat and placed it on the stone between them. Until the trial is complete, I will give no command concerning you. Elara stared at the seal. Why? Because if I interfere with your judgment to protect my crown, then I have already proven I am unworthy of it. For days, Elara had searched for the monster behind the throne. She had found something far more dangerous to her certainty. A man willing to be judged. Kael turned to leave. Elara caught his hand. He stopped. I was wrong about you. Not completely. Kael looked back at her. People disappeared while I was king. That failure belongs to my reign, even if the crime does not. Elara felt the distance between them disappear. She had expected power to defend itself. Kael was choosing truth instead. Her fingers tightened around his hand. Whatever happens in that hall, I will not lie for you. I would never ask you to. And if the trial removes you, then I hope the next king listens better than I did. Elara smiled despite herself. Then Kael lifted her hand gently. He did not kiss her. He simply held it for one quiet moment. No crown, no rank, no command, only trust. Outside, the great bells of Blackspire began to ring. The 7 Alpha houses were arriving. Lucian had called the kingdom to judge its king. Elara looked toward the Hall of First Blood. This time, she intended to make sure the kingdom heard the truth. The Hall of First Blood had not been opened in generations. Tonight, every seat was occupied. Representatives of the 7 Alpha houses watched as Kael entered without guards. Elara walked several steps behind him. Lucian was already waiting. He stood beside the ancient throne with documents spread across a stone table. He looked almost victorious. Lucian raised the first order. 25 Omegas disappeared under the authority of this crown. Another document followed. Transfer orders, prison records, night guard commands. Each carried Kael's name. Whispers moved through the hall. Lucian faced his brother. Will you deny your own seal? Yes. The answer came without hesitation. Lucian smiled. Then prove it. Kael looked toward Elara. I do not have to. She does. Every face turned toward the Omega. Elara approached the Moon Warden altar. Lucian's expression changed. He had expected her anger. He had expected her fear. Most of all, he had expected her to choose between two brothers. Elara chose neither. I will not declare Kael innocent. Silence filled the hall. And I will not declare Lucian guilty. She placed her hand against the ancient stone. Let the truth speak for itself. Silver light exploded through the floor. The 7 judgment seats illuminated. The walls awakened. Records hidden for centuries appeared across the stone. Lucien's forged orders emerged first. His secret payments. The corrupted guards. The prisoners beneath Blackspire. The bloodline searches. The evidence was undeniable. Then the hall changed. New records appeared. These belonged to Kael. Reports from weaker territories. Complaints from Omegas. Warnings about disappearing legal protections. Some had reached Blackspire years earlier. Kael had delegated them. Delayed investigations. Trusted officials who never acted. Lucian laughed. There is your king. Elara looked at Kael. The entire kingdom waited. Kael stepped forward. He could defend himself. Instead, he lowered his head. Those failures are mine. Lucien's smile disappeared. Kael faced the 7 houses. I did not order these disappearances. But people suffered beneath my crown while I believed reports instead of seeing their lives. If the Covenant judges that failure worthy of removing me, I will surrender the throne. The silver carvings brightened. A voice filled the hall. Royal blood confirmed. Crown violations acknowledged. Judgment accepted. Covenant may be renewed. Lucian stared at the throne. No. He rushed toward Elara. Rowan moved first. The commander struck Lucien's weapon aside before he reached the altar. 2 night guards seized him. Lucian struggled. You think confession makes him strong? Elara looked at him. No. The truth does. One by one, the 7 alpha representatives rose. Not for Lucian. For the Covenant. The ancient throne illuminated behind Kael. He did not approach it. He remained before the judgment seats. The voice returned. Kael Dravenhart. Crown recognized. Oath requires renewal. The hall fell silent. Lucian had built his coup around one belief. That powerful men would always protect power before truth. Kael had destroyed him by refusing to do exactly that. And Elara finally knew what kind of king stood before her. Lucian did not die in the Hall of First Blood. Kael refused to make vengeance the first act of his renewed reign. His brother would face a public trial under the same covenant he had tried to corrupt. The prisoners beneath Blackspire returned home. Mara returned to the royal kitchens. And after 18 months of disappearances, 25 families finally received the truth. Lisa remained with Elara while she recovered. 3 weeks later, Kael summoned the 7 alpha houses again. This time, no one stood accused. The Crown Covenant was rewritten. Omegas and Betas received permanent representation in royal government. Independent investigators gained authority to examine abuses inside every territory. And the Moon Warden office was restored beyond direct control of the Crown. Kael offered that office to Elara. She accepted on one condition. A king could never dismiss a Moon Warden for investigating him. Several alphas protested. Kael agreed immediately. Months passed. Blackspire changed slowly. Some traditions disappeared. Others became stronger. Kael changed too. He still frightened half the palace without trying. He was still controlled. Still demanding. Still the Black King. But now, when someone brought him an uncomfortable truth, he listened. One winter evening, Elara found him waiting on the balcony where they had first spoken honestly. He wore no crown. Kael asked her to stay at Blackspire. Elara reminded him that she already lived there. That was not what he meant. For once, the king seemed uncertain. Elara understood. She stepped closer. Loving a Moon Warden means accepting that one day I may stand against you. Kael's amber eyes remained on hers. That is exactly why I want you beside me. Elara smiled. Then she chose him. Not because he was an alpha. Not because he was king. And not because ancient blood had tied their destinies together. She chose the man who had given her the power to judge him and never demanded that she spare him. Months later, Elara sat inside the royal council chamber. Kael occupied the head of the table. Elara sat across from him. An Omega representative stood nearby, challenging a new royal proposal. Several alpha nobles shifted impatiently. Once, that would have been enough to silence someone of her rank. Kael raised one hand. The room became quiet. He looked at the Omega. Continue. The woman did. Kael listened. Across the table, Elara met his eyes. Vareth was not perfect. Perhaps it never would be. But the kingdom was learning something power had forgotten for generations. A strong ruler did not need everyone beneath him to remain silent. And the Omega who had entered Blackspire determined to expose a monster finally understood why she had fallen in love with a king. Not because he was always right. Because when the truth proved him wrong, he listened.